Hello, my name is John Nyce, and you are watching the Griot and me. Hey, so I am from Congo. So I came here in Canada when I was a teenager. So imagine being a teenager, studying school, and it wasn't easy. I was a quiet kid in class because I had to adapt and the system. So back home in Congo, it wasn't easy. Like we are moving to different city, different country, and so pretty much it was even hard for me to actually stay in one school. So being here in Canada, a teenager, being in school, like I had to actually learn the system. It wasn't easy. I had to adapt, and yeah, so that's where I'm from. I was here in Canada when I was a teenager. Yeah, so it was really hard because what happened when I was in Congo when the war happened, the civil war happened. Uh, where I left, I went to Zambia. Then trying to find a school, it was hard because you also have to like try to understand how other country are and stuff like that for your safety. And so being in a new country here, like my first language is French, so I was put into an English school, and it was me and my twin, and it was actually in grade seven. And when I walked into a class, I see a lot of like diversity people, and I was a shy kid. I was very shy up to when I was 9 years old, and I think it was because like what I went through. I never actually feel like in class, or I never actually really like be engaged with people and stuff like that. So it wasn't easy. So I had to actually learn how to talk because I didn't even know any one single word in English because my first language was French. And so I didn't know how to talk, I didn't know how to communicate, I didn't know how to engage, like even in terms of my education too, because I study in Zambia, but the education was not as perfect because each time we had to like move to a different city, and then I went to South Africa as well, then moved back to Zambia again, and then after that go back in Congo, go in Europe. So pretty much it was very hard for me to actually stay in one spot so I can actually better myself, so I can learn the system, so I can make friends. So I ended up and just be friend with my brothers because I don't know if you guys know, we actually work as a partner in the business that we're doing. And so the biggest thing that I had to learn was how to speak English. I had to learn how like pretty much engage with people. My communication skill was not the greatest as well. Yeah, so for me that was actually the biggest thing that I had to like learn. And I'll be like quiet sometimes. Like they used to say, like, why you so quiet? How come you don't say anything? I guess I just I just didn't want to say anything because I was scared that people would make fun of me, especially being African. You know, when you have an African accent, sometimes you sound funny, and so that's why I choose just not to speak. So what happened is when I went to high school, I spent a lot of time in the library. So I spent a lot of time just reading like about film and cinema, and I used to take photos. I used to like do graphic design stuff like that. That was like something that was actually really good at. So when I start college, I took architecture. Architecture was a very disciplined class. You got to make sure like what you draw and everything, it has to be very precisely. So that expert actually teach me how to be disciplined when you actually put everything on paper. And then when I moved in the West, which I went to Alberta, I went there. I didn't do so well. So what ended up happening is I dropped out of school and came back to Ottawa, and then find myself a full-time job, and I started working there for 4 years. And then I said to myself, you know what? And I believe it was 2015. 2015, I said to myself, okay, you know what? I'm going to have to make a decision. If I stay at this full-time job, it won't give me what I want to do, because I always loved taking photos, doing video. It was just kind of like a fun thing that I used to do on the side for family event. But a lot of people used to tell me, like, you know what? I think you should get into that because you're actually pretty good at it. And so I left my full-time job. I looked a part-time job, which I was doing like 20 hours per week. And then I started doing photographer and video. And I did it for about like 3 years, I would say. And I started doing wedding photographer, wedding video as well. And I was able to actually learn a lot of experience. So what I did, then I put myself into Algonquin College. I went into interactive media design. I was there for 3 years, and man, I learned so much there. Yeah. Like the people who were there, the youth and stuff like that. Some of them they actually showed me some few tricks, like how to like creating a good content. My professor was actually awesome. He was there for me. He taught me a couple of like lighting technique, and so for me being in school, it was actually a foundation for me, and that's when I ended up seeing like my craft start changing, the way it start looking like, even when I do a few editing and stuff like that. So I did waiting for about like 9 years. I got a lot of success on that, and the whole reason why first I got into weddings, because I never actually see I never actually see a wedding being edited in a way, especially like people who look like us black. So I actually wanted to change that a little bit, and so I ended up being very successful. And I travel actually, like I did a wedding in the Caribbean, I did a wedding in France, in the West. So pretty much like I started doing wedding international. So for me, it was very very exciting. And then 2 years ago, I decided to actually do a transition into film. And I did my first film with the team. And during the first film, I actually ended up winning an award with Canada Short Film. So for me, I said, okay, you know what? Being a wedding photographer and videography for like about 9 years, I was able to actually acquire the skills and technique, and then applying that in a film. That for me, it was kind of like, okay, you know what? I think I can start from here. And what I've realized, especially in film as a black filmmaker, that I'm trying to start something here in Ottawa, it's very, very hard. I'm not getting no funding anywhere else. So pretty much I invest my own money into the film project. And I said to myself, you know what? If no one start, then no one is going to start. So I'm like, you know what? I'll do whatever I have to do. Like if I make money here on, like let's say, book clients, stuff like that, I'm just going to put money on the side, and so I can just invest that in like short film, and then short film, and also like 1 hour film, like kind of like a feature length film. So I do have 2 film booked for this year. That's awesome. And the next one is going to start next week. So it's going to be 5 days. 5 days. So I'm looking forward for it. It's a short film. And if you guys want to follow me, you can go out on my Instagram, just John MKNY, or you can also follow my Facebook page at Nice Image Film as well, and you'll be able to actually see all the information. And the other thing too, I do also have a studio space as well at 15 Capella 109 in Ottawa area. So if you ever need advice or you want to help out as well, you can reach out to me. Like I'm available 24/7. And so that's pretty much how I got myself involved into film, because like I didn't see people who look like me who actually into film. There's a lot of I know there's a lot of black writer, there's a lot of black filmmaker out there, but they just don't have the tools. So I decided to say like, okay, you know what, this year I'm going to give my 100% to trying to see who I can help. And in fact, there's another person who came from Montreal who actually presented me the script. I really like the script. That's another film that's going to start in September. I'm looking forward for that. So pretty much like I do have, I feel like we always have to elevate each other. And given the fact we don't know a lot of black filmmakers, we don't know a lot of black filmmakers. So I'm like, you know what, I'm going to start, even though I fall, I'm just going to give my 200%. And I hope like maybe later on I'm going to inspire someone else as well, so they can also get into the community of filmmaker and see how we can start. Because if it doesn't start with anybody, who's going to start then? Yes, it was Behind the Truth. Behind the Truth, that was actually the film that actually made me to actually trying to pursue and being a filmmaker. behind the truth, we actually ended up taking people from different ethnic, so that was actually the best out of it. So at that time, what happened is I did a casting call at my studio. So on my mind, I actually want to cast like people who look like us, but unfortunately, because uh, none of them actually ended up showing up. There was like a lot of like people who actually Caucasian who actually show up, and people with different things. And I said to myself, you know what, let me see how I can change the story a little bit. So I ended up actually casting people on different ethnic background. We had black, white, Asian, like pretty much we had like a diversity team. We ended up coming with a concept with a short film, and then after that, it took us about, I'll say, a good 3 months. It was a 3 month, and the film was 30 minutes, and then being transitioned to film, I ended up seeing how different it's a different technique versus when you're shooting an event. An event, it's a one day event. You just show up, you start filming, take a couple of videos and stuff like that. But film, you actually have to make sure you have all the angle. You gotta make sure the sounds better. You gotta make sure you plan everything from the beginning to the end, or you're just gonna find yourself you won't have a good story. So at that time, I said to myself, okay, you know what? If I don't put more work into this film, then I don't think I'm gonna get the best result. No one is going to take me serious. So I remember I booked 2 weeks off. I shut down my social media, my cell phone. I just pretty much just on my 2 weeks, I was just in beast mode. I was trying to learn how to actually do different film technique, how to edit, lighting and stuff like that. And it did pay off a lot. So after the film came out, what I did is I sent it to few film festival. And knowing that, I said to myself, like, there is no way, especially like I have an African name, I don't think my film is going to receive an award. And I remember like after like 3 months, I was start losing hope. I'm like, okay, I don't think I'm not any better. I don't think I can be a filmmaker. And then I received a notification say that your short film has been selected as best short Canadian film and also international. So for me, that was actually like a stepping stone for me. I was like very happy, and the team, we were like so happy. We're like, okay, you know what, if we can actually get an award like here in Canada, that means we can actually push this. And I remember talking to a few of the actors who I actually cast on my film, and some of them, because of this opportunity that I gave to them, because not a lot of people, they actually have an opportunity to show their portfolio, like especially like a lot of them, they go to the casting but they don't make it. So being part of this project, we're able to actually show a few portfolio to other agency and stuff like that, and they actually ended up having other opportunity not to be featured on other film. So I remember I was talking to somebody on the phone. He's like, you know what, John, I just want to say thank you for giving me this opportunity. I feel that now I have a lot of opportunity, and I'm being cast on other film, and I also want you to actually like take this serious, because I can see you go far with this. And so for me, that pretty much opened up my conscience. And seeing that result, I said to myself, you know what I'm going to do, like the next film again, I'll make sure like I give my 200%. And then what I'm trying to do also at the same time, I want everybody to also get engaged as well. Like anybody who is a writer, it could be a youth, anybody who has an idea, like you can just pretty much send me your proposal, and if I like it, me and the team, we're going to engage on it, because I'm willing to actually give myself time so we can actually bring what you guys have in mind to life. So this is my best advice for the youth, and because when I was actually talking to my twin, I said we live in an age of digital, so which means the youth, they actually have more advantage on the digital world. On like us, when we were born, digital was just emerging, but it was not there. But they actually live in the world of digital. So if they actually can start young, like I see some of them, they as young as 14 or 16, 17, 18, they're doing like a lot better in creating content like video and editing stuff like that. So if you can start as a youth, especially you also have to, if you love it, then you do well. Like if you think about, okay, you know what, I want to do this for the money and stuff like that. Like I just mentioned to you guys, and when I do film, pretty much I use all my fund, I use all my pocket. I don't take any donation or anything because that's something that I have a passion. That's something that I want to do because it makes me happy. So as a youth as well, if you want to, if you have to give yourself time to learn. And when I say you have to give yourself time to learn, is you have to also, when you're learning, you also have to keep doing it, because as you keep doing it, you're gonna get better at it. As a filmmaker, or like let's say you're doing photography or video, you cannot do like video and then you wait for 6 months and then you do it again. So if you actually want to get into video, you got to make sure you do it either twice a week or every weekend, because what it's actually doing to you, you're actually learning more, and you're actually feeding your mindset, and you get to understand how making video, how to actually engage people. So I would say like never stop learning. You gotta keep learning. You can't, for example, okay, you know what, I want to do this, and you just stop. If you want to get into film, you really have to keep learning every single day. Because even me, I don't call myself as a professional. I've been doing that film for 2 years. I never stop learning. You know, like even though I've been doing video for like 9 years, every single day for me, it's another opportunity for me to learn new skills. And you gotta be humble. You gotta be humble. You also have to watch what other people are doing in Ottawa as well. Because I know a few filmmakers, people who do video and stuff like that, they inspire me a lot. Sometimes I reach out to them like, hey, I have a question, what's the best camera? Hey, I have a question, what should I do in a case like this? You know, you also have to be humble. You gotta understand we are here, we are all in here together. And so get engaged with other people, any other who do video, or anybody who does video photography. You just gotta, like, you know, get engaged with them, because they may not be at their best, but I'm sure they're going to give you the best advice. So you'll be like, okay, you know what? When I started film, I ended up spending so much money when I should have just worked with a small camera that I had. So it's not about what you spend, it's about trying to get as much information as you can, and then you start going step by step. Well, I actually like it because what it does, it's actually engage to the youth, not just to the youth. Also, it does engage to other, like, black people who are actually in leadership, and so we actually know what's going on in Ottawa. You know, I have a saying like we was trying to look like in Toronto, we was trying to look in Montreal, we was trying to look outside of the city, but I believe that in Ottawa as well, we can also elevate people who actually look like us and get engaged with other black leader, black businesses, so we actually understand like what's going on in the city. Because the biggest thing is you not having information to know what somebody else is actually doing in the city. So I really like this platform. Like someone actually sent me this platform. I was able to actually go on few video, and I was very, very happy to actually have a platform like that. And I just want to let you know that thank you to actually having me into this show. And we need a platform like that where we can actually share our story. We tend to look sometimes like in Toronto or Montreal, but I think in Ottawa we also have to know like what's going on in Ottawa, like who are actually in the leader position, like for example black businesses as well, and who we can actually inspire in Ottawa here, and get to know who live in the city, who does what. And what happened is someone actually sent me the link, and when I was able to actually go over the platform YouTube, I see a lot of good people who I also know personally. So for me, like seeing them talking, I'm like, you know what, we do need a platform like that where we can elevate our youth, where we can elevate like other people who look like us. Because once we actually have a platform like that, it is very, very good. So we can actually get the information, know what people do here in Ottawa, and also know other businesses, especially like as a black person as well.